An IRS audit can be a scary thing, and in this video I want to take you through exactly the phases of an IRS audit. Now, an IRS audit will be announced to you, usually through the mail, but occasionally by agents showing up at your house or place of work. Now, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to give you a list of required documents and a date by which you need to provide them. The less serious the audit, the shorter the list will be. Now, the agents will also go to your place of work or your home to examine these documents. If the agent wants you to come to an IRS building to conduct the audit, that is a warning sign that there will probably be more than one agent there and that the IRS is taking a heightened interest in you. Most audits are done in the field at either your place of work or your house. Once you get those documents together and you deliver them to the IRS auditor will use them to prepare for this meeting, and at this meeting they will ask you questions. Now, it is much more comfortable to have an advocate next to you at these meetings to answer the questions on your behalf. You never want to make a mistake in talking to a federal official, of course, and if an attorney is the one talking, then you can't be held liable for any mistakes or false statements that you might happen to make at this meeting, however inadvertent. Now, once the audit process is finished, you're going to get a Form 8789, which is the summary of the results of the audit. This form can be quite difficult to read. Basically, on the front, it'll look like a tax return. It'll show what has changed for each year you were under audit. Now, if the IRS finds what they call a quote-unquote substantial understatement, which means your tax return was off by more than 20%, they can audit the next year back. So, for example, if they find a substantial understatement in 2017, they can audit 2016. However, the IRS has a hard bar, unless you let them, on 3 years from the day you're audited going backwards. So if your tax return was filed on January the 4th, 2016, then after January the 4th of 2019, that return cannot be touched. Once you get your Form 8789, it's up to you to decide if you agree or disagree with it. Now, again, this is where an attorney advisor or an accountant can be extremely helpful to tell you if the auditor is right or if the auditor is wrong. The first thing you can do in response to an 8789 is write a letter to the auditor or to the auditor's manager. You have 30 days and 30 days only to do this. If you let 30 days go by, they will close the case on their end. The next thing that happens is you are sent what is known as a notice of deficiency. A notice of deficiency explains why you owe additional tax and gives you 90 days to petition the United States Tax Court. I'm barred in the United States Tax Court, and I can protest an audit at the highest level, which is tax court. Most lawyers and all CPAs are not barred in the United States Tax Court, so all they can do is write letters to an auditor or the auditor's manager. They actually can't dispute your debt in front of a judge. Now, if your audit is clear and if you clearly owe, it is almost always in your best interest to work out the settlement of your case, i.e. payment plan or offer in compromise, pursuant to other videos on this site, with the person who audited you. It generally takes about 8 months for your case to wind its way from audit all the way to collections to the point where you would get another human to talk to about settlement. And in those 8 months, massive amounts of penalties and interest can accrue. Finally, the IRS follows a 20/40 fraud rule. What that means is that if your audited amount is more than 20% different than your original return, they determine you're negligent and they penalize you 20%. At 40%, they determine you're reckless and they penalize you 40%. Anything above 40%, they presume is fraud. So if you've been notified that you have a pending audit and you think you might come in at 20% or higher than your stated amount on the return, counsel can be extremely important because we can negotiate those penalties away before the audit becomes final. In fact, I had a case where my client was off by about $750,000 and the auditor agreed to reduce it to zero in exchange for our agreement to the audit. One of the worst things a taxpayer can do is to completely give up his leverage, i.e. miss all the deadlines and not oppose the audit and not get anything in exchange. You agreeing to the audit is of huge value to the IRS. They don't have to give it to a lawyer. They don't have to keep digging. So don't get nothing for it. If you're going to agree to the audit, if you're going to owe the money anyway, then get penalties waived, get the amount reduced, etc., etc. So if you have any questions about audits, please get in touch with my office.